turn to the 30th chapter in Sefer Devarim. What we want to do, we want to look at a piece. It's in Parashat Nitzavim, chapter Lamed in Sefer Devarim. Being that today is the 10th of Av, we want to look at something that talks about the Nehama, that talks about the Geulah, the ultimate rebuilding, and the ultimate Biat HaMashiach. That, we say as a general rule that we don't talk about Biat HaMashiach and the ultimate days. We're on page 576, but in fact we hint to it pretty overtly in certain cases. So what precedes this piece is a whole just a diatribe by Moshe Rabbeinu about the good and otherwise that will come to the Jewish people based on their love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And ultimately he makes the point, and I want to speak about this more in depth, not today, but ultimately he makes the point that a person not only has to keep Torah mitzvot, but has to do so b'simcha b'tov lev. And he says, Lo Aleinu, that all of the kilalot, he lists a litany of kilalot, God forbid, that will come on the Jewish people, Tachat asher lo avadetem et Hashem Elokechem b'simcha b'tov lev. Because you served God. You served God, but you didn't have a great time. You weren't happy doing so. So this is a very big point in the Chumash. And here again, for ourselves and our children, as we build our love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as we build our Hatmadah and Mitzvot, if the happy element goes away, then it's all dashed. Because the whole point of Mitzvot is to be happier, to have a more fulfilled, enriched life, to have a better time, to have a great time. It's very, very important, and it's what a human being should have. So we're mandated to feel a certain way. Now, as we go through all of this that Moshe Rabbeinu brings, we see something that I think is very important and worth taking this one class as an outlier and going through it. Go look at the beginning of Parashat Lamed, Pasuk Aleph, chapter 30, the first Pasuk. Vaya ki yavo alecha kol hadvarim ha'eleh. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the time when we're in the diaspora, right? In the Galut. And now what happens? All the good things and the other things come upon us. Now let's remind ourselves what happens in Galut. What is the formula? The formula for Galut is we're dispersed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pulls back. There's less of an oversight of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us in the diaspora. Yeah? And we're given fantastic beracha. Let's be clear on the model. We're dispersed. So if we're dispersed and we're further away from the areas of Kedusha, you would think that the material benefit is harder to come by. But God doubles down on the challenge. He pulls back. It's harder to feel his presence than it is in Eretz Israel, right? It's harder to feel his presence. And at the same time, communities grow, people make a ton of money, there's fabulous success. So you have a positive and a negative that creates somewhat of a negative in that people are doing great and they don't feel God that overtly, right? So that's the system. We have the hastara, we have God pulling back, and we have beracha, right? And then what happens, and now we have the challenge, right? What happens in the diaspora, like happened in Egypt? Peru, urvu, yeshutzu, yirbu, v'atzmu, b'mod ma'od, right? We're smarter than everybody. We have bigger beracha than everybody. The goyim see it. They hate us, but we keep going. And because we have all this beracha, we tend to be less connected to Borei Olam. Okay. Lo Aleinu, from time to time we have these catastrophic events. We have the Inquisitions, we have the pogroms, we have the Holocaust, we have some of the horrific things that the Arabs have done and are doing to us in the land of Israel. Good. So, Vaya ki yavo alecha kol hadvarim ha'eleh. all the good and all the otherwise. Habracha v'hakilala asher natati lefanecha. Now what's going to happen, Sion? Vashevota el levavecha. What does that mean?
Make your souls rest?
You will return to your hearts. You will return to your hearts.
Now you're going to do mitzvot.
You're going to do mitzvot, beauty. But maybe we're one or two steps before doing mitzvot, you're going to return. There's going to be some sense of awareness, some idea to reconnect back to the core. Interestingly, but where did it come from? It didn't come from anywhere. It seems the Beracha Kilala came in this overall structure, and out of the blue, from nowhere, people are going to start to reconnect. Nevavecha, positive, negative, right? Yetzer hara and Yetzer tov, right? B'chol hagayim asher hidichacha Adonai Elohecha shama. As you dispersed, and with all the goyim, Eddie, grab a chumash. All the goyim that I dispersed you, as you dispersed, somehow, in this crazy ongoing thing of hundreds of years of beracha and the opposite, suddenly you're going to start to get more connected, right? With no direct impetus. Vashevota el levavecha b'chol hagoyim asher hidichacha Adonai Elohecha shama. You are going to start to come back home. You're going to start to feel more connected, right? From nothing. Good. V'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha. V'shavta, Eddie, we're in, you got it? Okay. Shavta ad Adonai Elohecha v'shamata bekolo b'kol asher anochi b'tzavacha hayom. Ata ubanecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha. What's going to happen? You start to come back to God. Hashem Elokim. Why? Why? Was there a great Torah movement that was born? Nothing. It's automatic, fabulous. It's spontaneous. It came from nowhere. Where did it come from? How do we explain it? There's berachan kilala. It's a mix of everything. So if you're going to tell me there's more beracha, okay, check. Because of the greater beracha, this happened. If there's more of the opposite law, check. But it's mixed. And there's no particular, it's not choter migeza yishai. There's not a great figure, so to speak, who comes up and moves things. It's just supernatural. Now, there's some remarkable things happening now in South and Central America, right? Remarkable things. We know that we know that there are millions of Jewish neshamot in these countries. Millions. These are people that during the Inquisition, they were forced to go away from Judaism, right? To hide it, to abandon it, otherwise they would be burned at the stake, right? And now the children, right? So we had an interesting thing. We had a young woman who worked for us in Conway at the time. She was Colombian. She said that for a month in the spring, every year, her family didn't eat bread. For a month, her family didn't eat bread. She never knew why, right? And every Friday evening, her grandmother and then her mother would go into a room in the house with no windows and light 2 candles and say prayers.
They didn't know why they did it.
They had no why, and her grandma did it, her mom did it, wow. She's doing it. And by the way, it's a room with no windows. Why? Because if they saw them, they would kill them. They would burn them at the stake, right? So we hold that these neshamot are there. They're still fundamentally, to Joey's question, beginning, or your question, they're still fundamentally Jewish neshamot. So what's happening today? It's just a sidebar, interesting sidebar.
Have you ever seen the African tribe that says Shema?
Yeah, sure. Of course, the Falashim. We hold that might be from the tribe of Dan. We have this remarkable thing happening today, where people from all over the world are waking up and claiming a sense of Judaism. Somebody called me a couple of years ago and said, listen, We have Jews now in these cities in South and Central America who are totally black hat religious. We have these goyim who claim themselves to be Jews, and they're black hat religious now. Peot, they look like you would think you're in Williamsburg, right? When you see them. He said, but the Sfaradim won't let them into the synagogues because of the edict that we don't accept converts. He said, would you help on this issue? I said, no way. I said, this ain't going to be one that I'm taking on. No way. But the reality is, this is what's happening. We have people coming from all over, inspired. This is the time, and it's only going to grow. We have in the former Soviet Union, right? Effectively, the 6 million plus minus Jews were finished. The Nazis slaughtered them. The communists removed God from them. What's going on? Where did they come from? Now, okay, some are Jewish, some are not Jewish, some are less Jewish, but I taught Russians for 10 years in Brighton Beach. And a lot of them now are very religious, serious people. And they're smarter than smart. And these people were written off. So, to your point, out of nowhere, they're coming out of nowhere. And they're going to keep coming. The Falashim, right? We say that the Ethiopians, right? With the Ethiopians, the Rabbanut Tarashit said they are Jewish. They're Jewish. Now, it's been a disaster since Israel took them in. You're talking about a cause. These people have been so hurt. It's so heartbreaking. The way that they've been taken into Israel and what's happened to them. It's terrible. It's just terrible. But the reality is, the Rabbanut Harashit declared them Jewish. Now, in their case, they hold that they might have been from the tribe of Dan, or one of the 10 tribes that was expelled from the land of Israel before the destruction of the first temple, in which case they don't have any Masoret. They have no Torah Shebe'al Peh. And therefore, Eddie, what did they do on Shabbat? They sit in the dark. Lo tevaru ish. So they sat in the dark. Imagine, for 2,000 years, or the better part of that. Fantastic. No, it's fantastic. But this is what's happening. And where did it come from? Nowhere. Nowhere.
But that's a Karaim, no?
Huh? Yes, it could have been. It could have been, very nice. It could have been, or it could have been they just didn't have Torah Shebe'al Peh. We have a tribe, we have people from India now. I mentioned it in that class we did, the online class we did yesterday. Today, Israel has one of the most eclectic demographics in the world. There are people in the state of Israel from 150 countries. How does that make any sense? You're going to the place where there's, God forbid, so much challenge, so much security challenge, physical challenge, financial challenge, right? America is the greatest country in the world in terms of an eclectic population. We have people here from 200 countries. This little tiny place, smaller than New Jersey, has people from 150. It's breathtaking. This is what's going on. V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha. They're not coming for religious reasons. They're not coming for, they're just coming. Nobody knows why. And you know what? They have some perfect. They have some internal something, and they're longing for something, and we know, going back to our first point that we said before we formally started, there are millions of Jewish neshamot all over the world that are pining to get back. I'm going to give you another quick example. Hannah Johnson was an AP reporter during the time of the Gulf War. Remember the Iran-Iraq War? She came to Israel, Goya. She came to Israel, and she saw how the missiles were flying. Her name wasn't Hannah, it was Hannah Johnson, right. She changed it to Hannah, right. Yes, sorry. She changed it to Hannah. She came to Israel, and she saw that during the war, Iraq was shooting missiles at Israel. Israel had nothing to do with the war, right? Okay, stop. Of all the missiles they shot at the time, like now, and similar miracles, one person, unfortunately, that was terrible, but one person died of a heart attack. Nobody was hurt by a missile. Not one. She's a Goya, AP, senior correspondent. She says, I'm with the Jews from now on. She converted, she moved to Shiloh. Of all places. No, this is the thing. So we're going to see more of this. And what is happening? It's happening in our time. We, for some remarkable reason, were given the ability to be alive to see this. We have to deal with it. We have to wonder about it. We have to... and where is it going to come? In the beginning stages, it comes from nothing. It comes from nowhere. It doesn't make any sense. V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha v'shamata bekolo. I'm in Pasuk Bet. What is the call, Joe? When we use the term call, when we don't use the term dibur or amirah, we use the term call. This is a critical term. No? Hamoded, what do you say when you use the term call? Tell me what the word call means in the context of the shofar. What is a call with a kuf? It's a sound, right? Good. So when we say shamata bekolo, the call, his voice means what?
He doesn't have a voice.
Okay, but there's some...
Whatever, you heard him. Yeah.
What is it?
You know that he's there.
You hear something. It's piercing. It's compelling. There's no words to it. The call of the shofar can change a person, right? There's no words to it. What changed you? If people didn't give you words to understand, for your mind to think, for your emotion to internalize, what changed you? Again, take a step back. Forget everything you know. Huh?
I mean, it's known. The vibration sound. The vibration changes you.
Oh, beauty. That's right. It changes.
Not in those meditation things. Listen to this sound for
frequencies.
this.
Yeah?
For sleeping or for
there are
money
certain frequencies.
or for positivity.
I got to learn about that. You got to send me something on that.
All day long, they have all different
Sounds, pure sound. That's awesome.
different frequencies.
That's awesome. I don't know anything about that.
Really?
I really got to learn about that. That's very exciting. All right, hook me up. The call, the sound, is transformative. So these people are hearing the sound of Hashem. Where are they hearing it from? I don't know. Who knows where they're getting it from? But they're hearing it, right? And they're coming back. And v'shamata b'kolo k'chol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom ata ubanecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha. And you're going to move back in the direction of me with a call. But the call are the mitzvot fully fleshed out? It says, kol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom. It sounds like yes, but wait. Pasuk continues. Next pasuk.
So you're saying that the Shemata, the call, you're talking about the...
There's a calling. There's a voice.
I understand, but you're talking about the shofar calling you? Or the shofar?
I'm saying the shofar is an example. Great. But very nice. Good. Thank you. But this is some sound.
Something coming.
Some sound. Something coming. Yeah. There's this lady who reached out to us. I don't know if she's Jewish or not. She's going to go to Israel for 3 weeks. I don't know. The call. Some call. I see there's something in me that is compelling me to discover, to go, to find. It's just, like we say, it's a calling. It's a voice. I hear a voice. It's a real thing. I don't know why. I want to be there.
Well, and then when he come give the Torah, when God spoke to the whole world heard him.
Everybody heard in their own voice, right? Perfect, fabulous point. When Borei Olam gave the 10 Commandments, everybody heard it in a voice specific to them. And that set the paradigm forever, that each of us would be spoken to in a voice for us. So now this voice permeates, gets out into the world, and people start to get turned on from it. They don't know anything, they start to get turned on. Pasuk Gimel. V'shab Adonai Elohecha et shvutcha v'rachamecha v'shab v'kibetzecha mikol ha'amim asher echpitzecha Adonai Elohecha shama. Eddie, what happens now? What happens? V'shab Hashem Elokecha et shvutcha. What does that mean?
Hashem receives you with rahamim.
Right, and what does he do? He brings people back. Right? And what does he do? And he ingathers us, mikol ha'amim, asher fitzecha Adonai Elohecha shama. He brings us back from all the nations, brings us back to Israel. from all the nations that he dispersed us.
So why is it Shama? Shama is over there.
Huh? Say that again?
Isn't Shama over there?
Shama, Asher Yifitzcha Hashem Elo- Shama. Kibetzcha mikol ha'amim. It's referencing all the nations that we were dispersed in. Asher Yifitzcha Hashem Elokecha Shama.
So where you are.
Wherever you are, God's to call you back. Now, I don't remember the exact numbers. But 300,000 people in Israel, plus minus in 1948. Now there's 8 million Jews in the country.
So this is happening now.
It's happening. In front of our face, it's happening. It's crystal clear. Nothing makes sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why now? Can you tell me why now? You know, people criticize the Zionists. Everybody loves to criticize the Zionists. That they came back to Israel anti-religious. It's true. But that's what the Torah says is going to happen. Let me ask you something. They came back anti-religious. It's true. Why did they come back? Why didn't they stay in Vienna and Berlin and Moscow and all those fabulously powerful, famous cities? Huh?
Zionists?
Zionists, yeah.
Because they're the ones who, like Herzl, he's the one that founded Israel.
Good. Founded Zionism, right? Yeah.
Yes.
But why? Why, Eddie? Why?
Totally anti-religion.
Right, totally anti. So people love to criticize them. 1 second. Read the Chumash. They're going to have a calling. It's an illogical calling. They're not because they're keeping Shabbat. It's an illogical calling, and they're going to follow that calling.
So there's, when you feel
You're saying
the
the Zionists
Zionist,
become Jewish?
that's like the voice?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the voices.
Right.
We were walking one day in Herzliya,
So
right?
Did you
Yeah.
reference that the Zionists are going to come back to religion?
Of course they are. They're doing it now. They're done it now.
They're still anti. They're anti.
Listen, in the state of Israel, let's be very clear on this. Let's be very clear on this. The assimilation rate in America is,
Oh,
what is it? True.
50%.
How much?
I don't know, 50, I think.
How much?
50.
How about 90?
Oh, I don't know.
How about the better part of 90? How about that?
I don't know.
How about that? Okay? We have work to do, Isaac. How about that? Okay? Better part of 90. Yeah? What's the assimilation rate in Israel?
50.
How much?
50.
How much? How about 3?
Wow.
How about 5 on a bad day? How about that? Does anybody talk about that? Why don't they? Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. That's all you have to do. Now, you know why? Because when you're in the Jewish land, you have a connection through Torah, through society, through nationalism, through a number of different things. Judaism was never meant to be done outside the land. This is a b'diavad, right? To do it outside the land. So what's happening today, by the way, what percentage of Jewish first graders are in religious schools in Israel? Take a guess.
Every religion?
Take a guess. What percentage of the population of first graders in the state of Israel are in religious schools?
10%?
What?
Religious percent, 50.
How much?
Should be
It's almost 60%
Religious schools.
in religious schools. This is the truth. This is the truth. Per capita number of children, right? Clearly, we are it's one of the fastest growing industrialized countries in the world, with a disproportionate, I don't remember the number, it's maybe average family has 4 kids or something like that. Not talking only about the religious families, we're talking about total population. By the way, in terms of happiness, right, the United Nations does a world happiness study. Did you ever see it? No, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. The people living in a threatened country with thousands of missiles being shot at them, with terrorist acts, yeah, they're happier than Americans. Could that be? It's true. So, on an assimilation level, people are home. They feel it. Some are connected by religion, some are connected by nationality, some are connected by the economy, some are connected by society. whatever you want to put. But it's overt. It's this here. It's working. It's true. You don't want to support it? Don't support it, but at least tell the truth. At least tell the truth. It's the Geulah. And by the way, it happened exactly as it's being described. We can go further. We could talk about the Ibn Ezra and others, and we can go into the Nevi'im who say it's exactly going to be that way. When people come back, they're going to be anti-Torah. And there's going to be an evolving and an evolution. And how do the Nevi'im describe it? They say it's going to be one door. One door, right? A door in the time of the Navi was how many years? Hamaded? 60, 70, 80 years, right? Good. We're in the 75th year now, right? Since the country is formally founded and so on. You see massive transformation. Massive. Again, I'm not advocating on behalf of Israeli nationalism. That's not the point of the class. The point of the class is see the hand of God and celebrate it. See the hand of God.
Just on food in restaurants. Look how many restaurants turn kosher in Tel Aviv.
I'll tell you, yes.
I remember getting a list of, okay, we can
There's
eat
4
here
restaurants.
now.
That's
and
right.
it's the hot restaurants.
Right. I'm going to
That's
tell you an
very-
interesting thing. We did business for the better part of 20 years in Israel in real estate, right? We did business there, and we owned a number of properties. And the properties with the kosher restaurants did more business than the unkosher restaurants 20 years ago, even though they were opened 25% fewer days. Awesome. And today, to your point, most of the good restaurants are kosher, right? We were walking in Herzliya one day, many years ago, walking by, and we saw an unkosher restaurant full on Shabbat. So some of the people were going to say, look this, you see this? This is all the terrible stuff. I said, you see that? That's spectacular. That's beautiful. I said, what are you talking about? I said, these people are here for some type of connection. Now they'll build. Rabbi Kassin says that today there's virtually no family in the state of Israel that doesn't have a religious child or grandchild. There is not one. That's probably true. Over here, 80% or better of us are gone. They said that in the first generation, when Jewish Americans married Goyim, they would celebrate, heartbreaking to say, but they would celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. Now there's no more Hanukkah. Finished, over. Over. So when we talk about the words of the greatest of the Nevi'im, and we look about the time we're living in, we cannot ignore what's written, and we cannot ignore what's happening. By the way, with all due respect, the average life expectancy is longer in the greatest financial powerhouse in the world called America, or in a little tiny fledgling country called Israel. Where is the life expectancy longer? Why for sure?
Because Israel, an Israeli guy created GMO, and they don't allow it in Israel.
Okay.
In America,
Everybody eats
everything's
garbage.
Living with purpose.
Huh?
You have to have the more
You're living with purpose. Different thing. Good. So, this is what's being described here. And on the 10th of Av, it's important to know what the destruction was, and it's important to know what the present future looks like. Good. Im yenedi chacham in Pasuk Daled. Im yenedi chacham b'ksei hashamayim. If we sent the diaspora, we pushed people out to the edge of the heavens. Misham yikabetzcha Adonai Elohecha u'misham yikachecha. Right? From the edge of the heavens, I'm going to bring you back. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring us back. Does a person know why he's coming back? Ish. But Hashem is going to bring people back. Miktzeh hashamayim. Not the end of the earth, the end of the heavens. Wow. Ve'vyecha Adonai Elohecha el haaretz asher yashu avotecha v'irashta v'tivcha v'ilbecha ma'avotecha. Eddie, what does that mean?
Inherited the land, no?
You're going to inherit the land, and how is it going to go for you over there?
Go back, you inherit the land of your forefathers.
Right, and how is it going to go when you do that, Sion? And you're going to have it what?
Yeah, you're gonna have a good.
Right? And the good that you have is going to be greater than the good that your forefathers had. Pretty remarkable, huh? V'hirbecha ma'avotecha. V'irashta, you will inherit it. V'hetivcha, you will have good. V'hirbecha ma'avotecha. And what you're going to have is going to be better than what your forefathers had. Now what's going to happen, and by the way, this still doesn't make sense. People are not coming back for religious reasons yet. So everybody needs to cool it and just look at what the Torah says. After these steps happen, after this blind, unclear, somehow reason that people find in themselves to come back, they don't know why, they're not coming to keep Torah mitzvot and to fulfill more of the mitzvot in the land, they're not. Right? Everybody should be doing that, including us. But they're not. They're coming back for some pull, for some voice inside of them. Now what does it say? Umal Adonai Elohecha et levavecha et levav zarecha la'ava et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha leman chayecha. What does that mean?
Increase your life.
Find and love God.
Have a longer life. As soon as you do all this, you'll have a longer life.
God will circumcise your heart. Right? Now after the person
What
came
I'm saying
back...
before about the yearning is that even Goyim want to go to Israel. I don't know what the connection is. I'm just saying,
Right.
it's not.
Right? It could very well be.
Saying
I'm saying that those could be Jewish neshamot.
the Christians, well, every religion.
The Christians who are coming to proselytize and to take over the country is something else. That's something else. And we have to be very careful about those people. But the people who want to come because they have a yearning to be Jewish, they could be Jewish neshamot. Or they could be...
I'm saying all the other, they want to go to...
They want to visit
They know
Israel.
it's a special place.
Yeah, they want to visit,
No
yes.
question.
Right, that's right.
It's from the Bible. Nobody doubts that he...
Right, good, good. So mal levav, what does it mean to circumcise the heart?
Is to put it in you, that's it. It's part of you. I don't know,
Right,
it's
when you
explained it.
circumcise something, you take off the part that's the tafel part, right? You take off the part that we don't need, and you just reveal the core, right? The important. So when someone circumcises the heart, emotionally, mentally, they're removing all the junk, removing all the distraction. Thank you, Abdul Hamid. Removing all the distraction and just having a clear path to God. So the person's hearts will be circumcised. Ve'et levav zarecha, and the hearts of your children. La'ava et Hashem Elokecha, to love God, just pure love, with all your heart, with all your consciousness. The ma'an chayecha. What does the ma'an chayecha mean?
Lengthen your days of life, basically.
Right, when we use the term chayim, in the Chumash, when we use the term chayim, what are we referencing? Whenever we use the term chayim, we're referencing life in this world and life in the next world. So when we say lema'an chayecha, we're talking about life in this world and eternal life. So when a person plugs back in, his life will be blessed in this world and the next world. Yeah.
Go back a little bit. How do you derive this life or next world?
I'm just telling you in general, bachata b'chayim, good. I'm telling you in general, it's a learning tool I want you to know. In general, when you see the term chayim, in general, in the Chumash and in the words of the rabbis, in general, it's speaking about this world and the next world. Chayim.
He's not saying hayim, it's hayecha.
Chayecha, your life.
Your life.
Your life in this world and the next world. Great, yes. Now listen to this. V'natan Adonai Elohecha et kol ha'alot ha'ele al oivecha v'al sonecha asher ridafucha.
So he's going to put it on your enemies.
God is going to take massive retribution against your enemies. V'natan Hashem Elokecha et kol ha'alot ha'ele. Those curses that Lo'enu came on us because we strayed from God, that we've now moved beyond because we're now reconnected, all those horrific things are going to come on the oivim and sonim. What's the difference between an oyev and a soneh?
One's an enemy, one's a hatred.
Soneh is on purpose. Is a person that delivers.
Soneh is right, hateful, right?
It's on purpose. You're doing on the
Excellent,
spot.
excellent. So generally speaking, we hold that the oyev is outside and the soneh is inside. The oyev is a person who's trying to destroy the Jewish people from the outside. He's your oyev. And the soneh is a Jewish person himself who's trying to destroy.
Jewish person.
Right, the outside and the inside.
So you're saying a soneh is like
Inside. Again, because otherwise, what's the difference between an enemy and an enemy? So we hold that generally speaking.
No, enemy and somebody hatred could be outside, just whatever, a different area. Outside.
So over here,
No enemy.
what, if you look at it, it's the enemy and the enemy, asher dafucha, who were chasing you, who were hurting you, who were chasing you, right, to hurt you. So it's the enemy from the out and the enemy from within. Hakadosh Baruch Hu. It's the Erev Rav type of thing. Now, the Erev Rav type of thing is particularly fascinating because we hold that over time, and it's not for today's conversation, but over time, we hold that the Erev Rav came inside. The Erev Rav was a fringe element, and now the Erev Rav came inside. And we have to be very aware of the fact that the Erev Rav...
We have that problem with the Russians.
You can explain. Go back a little bit. Explain that. Explain that.
A lot of Russians that weren't Jewish, but they saw that the Jews in the ghetto had it better off than them.
Right.
So they went in.
Okay, we have to get the fakers out, and we will over time. And it's not going to be a perfect system, not a perfect system. I had a situation again when we were teaching the kids, where one of my students was beginning to date two Russian girls, Russian guy, and we went back and forth, and with a group of rabbis and checked these people out. And, we told them either one's okay, because you don't know if they're really Jewish or they're faking it.
Because you have to go back.
They have to go back.
Oh.
Anyway, chose one, he marries her, beautiful wedding. It comes out, a few years later, the mother totally lied. She was not Jewish. And she did it to get out with the refugees that America greeted as Jewish refugees from the former Soviet Union. It was rough. And the system is not perfect. And then they split up.
They split up, doesn't it?
Yeah, she wasn't Jewish. They ended up splitting up. They could have Ashkenazim, they could have converted this, that. In that case, they didn't. It was very, very painful for everybody. And we had an army on it. This lady, the mother, came from a poor village in the former Soviet Union, and she was very, very clever in covering her tracks, going back what seemed to be generations and this and that. So the system is going to be imperfect, and that's okay. And that's okay. Because we're in a process, and it's going to be imperfect. That's okay. So, and you know what? At a certain point in time, as we're now describing, God is going to start to take revenge on the enemies, both without and within. Now again, if you look at the last 70 some odd years of history in the Middle East, it's impossible to say that any of the wars that were fought and won made any military sense. If you read some of the more historic and military-related chronicles that were written after the Yom Kippur War, for example, right? Some of us remember that, right? The Syrians were right at the edge of Tiberias. They basically ran right over all the so-called Jewish defenses in the Golan, and they were speeding to core Jewish population centers where they could have slaughtered thousands of people. They stopped. Why did they stop? They don't know. Nobody knows why they stopped. On the so-called Bar-Lev line in the Sinai, right? They just went right over. They slaughtered the soldiers there. We were completely unprepared. Why didn't they continue? It doesn't make any sense. There are stories like this all over the place. Yeah. Now you have one of the strongest countries in the world, Iran, with hundreds of billions of dollars of petrodollars, supported by the biggest threats in the world, China and Russia. And they're shooting at children in Israel, right? Who are they shooting at?
Civilization.
They were effectively did nothing. Thousands of missiles later. Is this not Yad Hashem in a very overt way? Of course it is. It's massive Mesirut Nefesh from the Jewish people there, but it's God's hand. So therefore, in the context of Tisha B'Av, which we mourn and which we are heartbroken, we have to also recognize that for some reason outside of our control, we live at a remarkable time in Jewish history. This didn't happen 80 years ago, which is a minute. It didn't happen for hundreds of years before us, where there was some of the greatest Torah giants. But for some reason, it's happening now. Let's do one more pasuk, and then we'll pause. V'ata tashuv, pasuk chet. ושמעת בקול אדוני, ועשית את כל מצוותיו, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום. We'll go one more. והותירך אדוני אלוהיך, בכל מעשה ידיך, בפרי בטנך, בפרי בהמתך, בפרי עמדך לטובה, כי ישוב אדוני לסוס עליך לטוב, כאשר שש על אבותיך. Wow, what does that mean?
And multiply,
Fruitful, multiply, blessed, right? You're gonna get closer to God. Basita et kol mitzvotav at that point. We keep getting closer. And God is going to set you apart. And He's going to take the perot that fill you, and He's going to bless them disproportionately. Whatever your commerce is, it will be disproportionately blessed. As we said a number of times, how does it make any sense that a country of 8 million people was for many years the country who had the second most companies on the NASDAQ in the world? The number one was America, the capitalist center of the world. The number 2 was Israel. One is 330 million people. One at the time was 6 million or 7 million. Now, Israel has been displaced to number 3 behind China, which only happens to have 1 billion something number of people. Does that make any sense? No. If you look at that and you don't look at the Chumash and you only mourn the destruction, you're living in some non-real place. You have to be, who sees the miracles? The realist. The realist sees the miracles. The dreamer doesn't see anything. The mourner doesn't see anything.
So this is exactly the way it's supposed to go down.
It's exactly how it's supposed to go down. Why? One second, didn't happen. Why didn't it happen in the 1200s? Or the 800s? Or the 1500s? Or the 1800s? For some reason it didn't. Were there greater rabbis then? Of course. Why is it happening now? I don't know. We have spectacular rabbis now. We have, I don't know, but there's mega circumstances, macro circumstances that are all moving. We were in Europe a number of years ago. What did we see? Empty buildings. One after the other after the other. The buildings are empty. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal a number of years ago, I don't know what the current numbers are, that says every year 700 churches close in Europe. Close. When we were in Europe, they became museums. We walked by them. They became museums, skateboarding rinks, right? You go to Israel, you see cranes everywhere. Everywhere. No, everywhere. That's the national bird. You know, they make a joke that the national bird is the crane, right? You see them everywhere. Does it make any sense? So, we did the right thing. We mourned, we cried, we sat on the floor, we didn't eat on a very long and very hot and very tortured day for good reason, because we're nowhere near there yet. But we are in the process. We have to acknowledge the process as we move away from the sadness, which, as we said, is anti-Torah, is anti-Judaism. Sadness is anti-Judaism. Let us not forget the fact that we're not there yet, but let's also remember how far we are along in this process, because we are. And not to acknowledge that is as bad as not acknowledging the problems that brought about the destruction. If I don't acknowledge HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand in my face for all the great that's happening now, what makes me any different than turning my back on God that led to the destruction that was? Is it a harder place to live, dear friends? It's a harder place to live. You know why? Because we live here. Because we love what we have. Because we love our community. Because we love our institutions and our children being together. We love it. But can we not struggle with this? We better. Can we not play a role in it somehow? Each of us must play a role. We can. It's here. Everybody needs to. And if we're not yet figured out how to play a role, at least let's celebrate what's happening. Let's be aware. Look up statistics. See what's going on. None of them make sense. None of them make sense. And you know why they don't make sense? Because it's the remarkable, I'm going to just finish in 2 minutes with one more point. It's the remarkable combination of the following. Remarkable combination of the following. It's Yad Hashem on a macro level, bringing about the Geulah, the redemption that appears to be very much happening. This is Kufat Mashiach ben Yosef. Hard to say that it's not. But how do miracles happen? And this is very, very important. Who initiates a miracle? The human being. The human being is Moseh Nefesh, reaches beyond himself or herself, and that brings a miracle. So when we're going to see macro movement, which we described here, and then we're going to see micro movement. That's the result of people stepping up and risking and sacrificing, and that draws more of the remarkable things that go on. And time will tell, the same way it took time for the miracles of Hanukkah, the miracles of Purim, to be recognized by all of the Jewish people. In time, all of this will be recognized. So, we should finish and never ever again, hopefully this was the last Tisha B'Av that we will ever have to live through. And part of how we're going to do that is by being a part of the remarkable Geulah that is taking place right in front of our eyes. And if we have any question about how it would develop, and the fact that it would start with people who weren't committed and didn't understand, just open up the book and it makes it crystal clear that that's the way it's supposed to happen. Great. Baruch Adonai L'olam, amen v'amen.